Silvana? Silvana, are you saying something? We can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I think I was muted.
Okay.
I was just telling you that the first color that we're going to use is green to mix the darker greens. And if you don't have green, you can mix it by mixing yellow and blue. I'm just gonna use my green. And I wanna make green a little bit darker. So to make this green a little bit darker, you have two options. You can add black or you can add a little bit of red. I am going to add red. So I have my green here and want to make it darker. So I start adding a little bit of red and I mix. So always the second color you're adding, you need to slowly add a little bit only, just because it may be too much. You don't want that. So that looks darker. And I'm gonna test it. Again, if you don't wanna add red, you can also, instead of red, add black to make your green darker. So I'm gonna just put a little bit here just to see if it's darker. And it is, I can see the difference. So with this dark, so you first wanna make sure it's darker than the other color you have. If it's not, if you cannot see the difference, make sure you add more red to the green. So I'm just gonna draw a little bit of shadows here, or paint, sorry. Just a little bit of a shadow on the left side. So on the left side here, maybe the left side of this right here. And that was just a little bit of shadows on my leaves. Okay, and then my tulip is done. Then I'm gonna add dark green to the other flower, the lavender. So again, mostly on the left side, very thin lines. in my last section. So there's a little bit of shadow here. And I'm happy with my greens. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna go on with the next color. So after you're done with your green, make sure you are washing your brush. To keep your water cleaner for longer, remember to always wipe the excess with your paper towel and then put it in the water. If you find that it is hard for you to see the difference between the two colors or the three colors of green, shades of green, then maybe you need to make the darker. Or maybe you can go back to your other green and make them lighter. And the next color we're going to use is purple for lavender. So if you have in your paint a purple-ish color or lavender color, you're welcome to use it. I have this one, which I might do a little bit, but I'll mostly mix mine because I know most of you don't have this color. So I'll mix it first. I'll mix it from scratch, and then we're gonna, I might just use this. So for my next flower, for the purple, I am going to use this round brush. And so the first color I like to make is, let's start with the darker purple and then we'll go lighter. So to mix purple, I mix these two colors, red and blue, gives you purple. So I have my red here, my first color, and I slowly add the blue. You see how much I put in the brush? Just a little bit, and you see how strong it is? It's already changed my color quite a bit. So I'm gonna test it on my tape here. I think it's too red. I'm gonna add a little bit more. It also depends on the kind of blue and red that you have. You may get a different kind of purple, and that's okay. So I added more blue, and now it looks very dark, but it's now purple. So I'm gonna add a little bit of white. Just a tiny bit. I think I grabbed too much even here, so I'll put it on this side and slowly add it to my purple. I think I have a dark purple now, so for this kind of part of the flower that I drew, I'm just gonna draw or paint the bottom ones. If your paint is too dry like mine, you can add a little bit of water, just a drop of water to your paint so it's a little bit more runny. And don't be afraid of going over the green. Don't paint all the petals that you drew, just some of them, because we are going to mix more paint with a lighter shade. So again, if your paint is not runny enough, you can add just a little bit of water. Remember, as I go higher, my petals are smaller and smaller. Smaller here, bigger down here. I'm just drawing a few over the green stem. And you can take your time. I'm gonna keep going with the next color so my paint isn't dry. This is the color I'm using. I just add white. And I tested. So you see these two colors, I think they're too similar, too close. So I'm gonna add more white. I wanna see the difference between my two colors. So I'm drawing a few here and there with my light second. So this is my first color, this is my second color. Just a little bit lighter and just a few petals here and there. And now I just added a little bit of white, more white, and a little bit of red to the first color. This is my first color. This color right here is the one I already have mixed in a bottle here. If you have something similar to this, you're welcome to use it. If not, you can just add more white and a little bit of red to your first color. And we'll just keep drawing petals here and there. They don't have to be perfect. And I'm even painting over the stuff I already had. And you can look at your painting So I'm just adding a little, I'm going back to the dark purple now to add a little or touch up a little bit here. Sorry, there is an echo. Do you mind closing your mics, please? Thank you. And now I'm gonna add my last color, which I just took a lot of white and put it in my purple here. A lot of white. Just very small. You see how I do the brush stroke? I just touch and let go and touch and let go. I don't drag it too much. I'm now adding just a little bit of a dots here and there that are not really touching the rest of the flower. And that is my lavender. So I think it's really nice if you do these little dots around that. If you look closely, they're not really touching the rest of the flower, but when you take a step back, it looks like it's a little bit fluffy. I'm gonna wash my paint. I'm done with the purples. I'll give you a few more minutes, 1 more minute just to finish your lavender. I'm gonna put the camera just a little bit closer. So if you look, if you take a step back, it looks like a lavender flower, but if you look close, my brush strokes are not perfect and are not very clean, but that's okay. So I was telling you to do these little dots around the flower. You see they're not on top of the stem or the dark purple, but it just gives it a nice effect. And then for our next flower, our daisy flower, the center is yellow and the petals are kind of white. So we'll mix that. First, I'm gonna erase a little bit my pencil mark so my white doesn't get all muddy. So my first color would be the yellow. I don't have a specific picture for the flower, but I'm gonna show you one similar. Just to see the colors. Sorry, let me just look it up. So this is the flower. It's not the same picture, exact picture, but these are the colors. So it's an orangey yellow. An orangey yellow, and the flowers are white. So I know it's tricky to paint white, but if you see the darker areas, it's kind of a gray. So we'll do that. Let's get started with our yellow. So I will mix orange If you have orange, you can use, if you don't, I don't have orange, so I mix yellow and red gives me orange. Remember to go over your drawing with very light pressure so you can still see the lines. But all the graphite from the pencil is gone. I'm gonna go back to my first brush, a flat, smaller one, like this. So I have yellow and red, mix them together, gives me orange. So I like this orange, I like the orange, but it has to be more yellow than orange. So I'm gonna add more yellow. And it's a nice color, but it has to be darker. So if you remember the color wheel, we talked about how to make colors darker. We want to put the opposite of orange. So in our color wheel, the opposite of orange is blue. So I'm gonna add a few drops of blue. So you see how much blue I add on my brush, just a drop, and I don't put it directly on top, I put it on the side and then slowly add it in. So that gives me an orange that is not too bright. If you put too much blue, then you're gonna have to add red and yellow again. But I like this color. So I'm gonna repeat how I mix this color. Red and yellow, more yellow and red, and a tiny drop of blue to make it a little bit darker. I'm gonna paint the center, the circle. So let me know if you're having trouble mixing the orange. Sometimes it depends on the kind of red you have. You might get a different tone, and that's okay. Just if you think that your color is too red, just add more yellow. Add more yellow and then a drop of blue. And then I'm gonna add a lighter, so the same color but just lighter. So I don't need to clean my brush, but just give it a little wipe because I have too much paint and I want the brush to be a little bit drier. So I'm just gonna remove the excess paint here. And I'm gonna be adding a little bit of white. So just a little bit of white. As always, I put it on the side and then slowly add to my color. And I'm gonna paint over the color I have. I'm not gonna paint all over it, just put a few dots. So touch and let go and rotate your brush so it looks different every time. Especially on the center. So the camera is not really picking it up, but what you want to see is just a little bit of texture on the first color, just a little that lighter color on top. And I'm gonna do it once more. So I just added white to the color I had, just a little bit of white to make it lighter. And just touch your canvas a few times to give it a little bit of texture. And then once you're done with this, clean and wash your brush. We're gonna start with the white and gray colors. So for the next color for the petals that we're gonna draw, you need white, and black in your palette. Just a little bit of black and a lot of white. And we're gonna start mixing the medium color. So I'm gonna start, or I always like to start with 3 colors for my paintings. I know I'm gonna do a dark color, a medium color, and a light, very light color, if not more. So the first color we're gonna mix is number 2, which is the medium color. After that, we're gonna mix a dark white and a light white. So the medium color is just a tiny, tiny drop. Sorry, let's start with lots of white. I'm gonna put it right here. Lots of white. And just a tiny, tiny drop. You see my brush? That's a tiny, tiny brush of dot of black, and I'll put it on the side here. And once I put it on the side, I just start slowly adding or mixing them together. So that is a very light gray. I'm just gonna test it here on the, I like it, but I think I'll add a tiny drop more. Oh, that was too much. Okay. So if you want, if you have extra, maybe on the back of your paper, just I'll do it over here on my tape, but if you put it down, sorry, let me show you quickly. So this color here, you see it's darker than my white of the paper. That's what you want. Make sure it's not too light. It's a nice gray, light gray. Okay, so I'm gonna start with probably this one right here. And I do one brush stroke slowly down to the circle. I'm gonna do the right side of these top petals only. I touch, bring it slowly down. And I'm also going to do these little sections that we had where like the end was and was folding over on its own for the petal here and here. So you see that on my palette, this looks very white, very light. But when I put it on my paper, compared to the white of the paper, it's actually darker than what it looks like initially. So it doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter as much how good your brush strokes are if you don't have the right color or the right value. And value means how dark or how light things are. make sure when you're doing the petals here that you have a lot of paint on the tip of your brush. So you can go one slow stroke down. You don't need more than, or you don't need to paint over it again and again. So pay attention which side of the flower I am painting this color, or which side of the petals. So at the top, it's on the right side of my petal. Here, I'm gonna start doing it at the bottom instead of the, so at the bottom it's still the right side, but it's opposite side of the petal itself. So just look at where I do it, and then you do it on the same side. So the light is coming from this section here. Actually, the light is coming from here, but because these petals are kind of folding over, they create their own shadows here. So this is why if the light is coming from here, I'm gonna have light on the bottom. Sorry, shadows on the bottom. Okay, so try to see where I did the brush strokes. Take your time. If you have to mix more paint, make sure you take your time and it's the same color as you did the first time. You don't want it to look quite different. So if you're ready to go for the next color, you can take your time painting this color, making sure the shapes are right. But if you're all done, we can get started with our next color. So we're gonna mix a lighter white, or gray, I mean. So this is the color I had. I'm gonna add a lot of white. So it's mostly white that I wanna do. So I tested against the, I can still see a difference. So I'm gonna paint the other half. So lots of paint on my brush. Start at the top, slowly go down until I meet the yellow area. Again on the next side. Very slowly, lots of paint. Don't put water because you want this paint to be thick. It's okay if you go over the first color. Try not to, but we can fix that later. So I just added a lot of white to the color I had first. And I tested on my blank sheet of paper, maybe on the corner or at the back, to make sure I still see a difference from the background. So it's darker than the background. But so if you look on my palette, this looks very white. And once I put it against a white background, it looks gray. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the flower closer to the camera. So I have done 2 colors so far. This color, and then I added white, and I made this light gray for the inside. I'm gonna go ahead with the next color so my white on my palette doesn't dry, but you can take your time. So basically this is the first color I had, or the color I just used. I'm just adding a lot of white. If your brush is too dark, maybe you can clean it. Mine was okay. So I just added, basically it's pure white. Let's see how it looks. So I want to add a few highlights here and there. Maybe you can use a smaller brush as well. So I'm just going basically over the kind of the center of the petal. So I start at the top, one brush stroke down. I go only about halfway, maybe a little bit lower than halfway. And as I'm finishing up here, I start to decrease the pressure on my brush. So at the bottom, it kind of fades off. Lots of pressure, less, fades off. Lots of pressure right here, less, and it fades off. These are the highlights. I'm gonna add a little bit more highlight on this one, I think. So I just switched to a smaller brush just to do the smaller areas right here. Go back a little bit. And always remember, take a step back to see what your flower is missing. I'm gonna go back to my dark color to touch up a little bit. Sometimes things get covered more than what I intended to. So I'm adding just a little bit of black again to get that dark. I see, yep, it's the same color I started with. And I just go over the things that needs to be darker again. So I'm just going over where the two petals meet. So I like my flower the way it looks. So take your time to do the grays. If you need to go back to darker colors, please do. Gonna go back to my yellow and just add dots like this. And that is my daisy flower. I'll give you a few minutes to catch up. So remember, for my white, I have three colors: dark, medium, and almost just pure white. So try to look at the picture or at my painting and see where the darks are, where the medium is, and where the white, pure white is. And once you're done, you can wash your brushes. If you're done, you can start by erasing the pencil on the last flower. So if you want to practice a few more times these flowers, you can find the video on YouTube. It will be uploaded later. And then you can also maybe do a painting with, let's say, just lavender flowers or just daisy flowers. I think it will look really nice. You can find a picture online and just use it as a reference. Yeah, I'll give you 1 or 2 more minutes just so you can finish your daisy. Remember to erase the last flower.
Thầy biết học à, nó sẽ để học là cái chuyện nó thầy hiện ta sẽ bắt đầu sáng chắc mà là lên đầu sau diễn ra tham có đó mà tại một lần hậu lộ giao tiếp là có việc con đó về mặt hoặc là之後自己都係講過話當30萬去揾多人領錢，所以法咧就話你拆。咁馬達咧自己就好嬲，好憎佢。咁但係後來發現，雖然發現嘅錢咧，亦都揾咗導演咧去安排一個馬達，希望咧可以幫佢上街。咁於是馬達當時咧走投無路嘅情況下咧，就唯有真係出街道啦，唯有專注喺佢演員上面。後嚟就成功爬翻起身啦。嗰陣時差唔多係80年代尾啦，到。
So for our last flower, we're gonna use pink and white. I don't have pink, so or actually I do have pink. So if you have your own pink color, you can use it. I'm gonna mix mine because I think most of you don't have pink. So I will be using red and white. So the center of the flower will be darker, almost just so to mix pink, you use red and white. If you have a different or some specific kind of red, it may look orangey instead of pink, but that's okay. You can make the same flower, just a tad orangey. So red and white gives me pink. So I need to mix more. I'm gonna just do the center of each petal. So I do the border here. I need to mix more paint. Sorry, I'm gonna move the camera. So you see, I'm leaving the center kind of rough because it's gonna be covered with another color. So you don't need to worry too much about it. So if I have a lot of paint, I put it at the center here. As I'm running out, I just drag the paint out so it looks a little bit dry.
It's on the counter. You want some?
I'm gonna continue with my next color, but you take your time. I just don't want my paint to dry.
I do it.
So that's my first color. I'm gonna add white to make it lighter. So I have a nice pink now. And I'm gonna do the center with very light pressure. That's my second color. I'm gonna have a third pink, so I'm adding more white. Gonna do the top part. So you start with dark pink. As you move out of the center, you just add white. And I'm gonna go with my smaller brush to the first color, the dark pink. And go over the border so it looks nicer.
续再看我，谁那个中的那个是吧？
And now I'm going to grab a lot of white. It's almost pure white, with a dot of pink for my border. Make sure you have lots of paint so it's easier. Just the outer edge. Okay, I think I'm happy with my flower. I'm just gonna paint the center dark. So you can use black, a dot of red. Just to paint, usually it's very dark here. And as always, once you're done, make sure you sign and date. I'm just gonna add a little bit of dark red again here. So it blends or it pops out a little bit more. And once you're done, make sure you wash your brushes very thoroughly so they last longer. And I'm just gonna sign with a pencil this time. And those are our flowers. So remember, once you're done, take a pictures and send us the picture. You can also show us here. Oh, that's beautiful, Kathy. Wow, that looks really great. I love your tulip, your lavender too. Wow, Veronica, that's very nice. You did a background as well. That looks amazing. Angela, that's